Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down every single chapter of the greatest story ever told. And today we are on chapter 38, Pirate Troop.
This chapter asks a fundamental question. What is a pirate crew? Is it a family forged in the fires of adventure and loyalty? Or is it a collection of disposable tools to be used and discarded at the captain's whim?
And Captain Kuro gives us his answer in the most brutal, most terrifying way possible. He has a move so out of control, so horrifying, that his own crew begs him not to use it. They know it means their own deaths. It is one of the coldest, most chilling things we have seen from a villain yet in this series.
It's a complete and utter rejection of the very idea of camaraderie. To him, the bonds that tie a crew together are just chains, loose ends that need to be severed. If you believe that a crew should have each other's backs and you don't want to get left behind like one of Kuro's pawns, you should probably make sure you're following Inherited Dawn wherever you get your podcasts.
Absolutely. You don't want to miss what comes next. Let's get into it, because the chapter kicks off right on that treacherous, sloping coastline, right after Luffy smashed one of Kuro's cat claws. It was a super satisfying moment.
Kuro is down, but as we've learned, these early villains are incredibly resilient. He gets back up, brushing himself off, and his crew, in their panic and excitement at seeing their legendary captain back in action, make a critical, fatal mistake. They start cheering for him. Captain Kuro, he's so strong!
And he just snaps. The whole atmosphere of the chapter changes in that one panel. You can feel the temperature drop 10 degrees. They forgot the number one rule. Don't call him Kuro. He wanted that name buried at sea. He turns to them, pushing his glasses up his nose in that creepy way he does, and says, essentially, "Shut your mouths, you morons. I was already planning on killing all of you anyway."
It's the casualness of it that's so disturbing. It's not a threat delivered in anger. It's a statement of fact. It's him confirming an item on his to-do list. He explicitly says Jango is on the list too. His plan isn't just to get Kaya's fortune and kill her. It's to kill every single person who knows his real identity. Every last one.
This is a whole other level of villainy, man. It's a completely different flavor of evil from what we've seen. Buggy wanted treasure and fame. He was a showman. Alvida wanted to be the most beautiful and feared. They wanted to build their names up. Kuro wants the opposite. He wants erasure. He wants to completely annihilate his past. And he sees his own crew, the men who followed him, as nothing more than loose ends, evidence to be destroyed.
It's pathological. He's been living this lie for 3 years, patiently playing the part of the bumbling, caring butler, Cloudor. And in that time, the lie has become more important than anything else. More important than treasure, more important than his own crew. The name Kuro is a stain he feels he has to wash away with the blood of everyone who remembers it. He doesn't want to be a pirate anymore. He wants peace and quiet, and he's willing to commit a massacre to get it.
It's the ultimate betrayal. I build ships, right? A ship needs a crew. They're the heart and soul. They're what makes it move, what gives it purpose. To Kuro, the crew is just scaffolding to be kicked away once the job is done. These guys followed him. They believe in his 100 plans. And to him, they're just evidence to be destroyed. It's the exact opposite of what a crew should be.
And while Kuro is having this chilling monologue, revealing the true depths of his depravity to his own horrified men, the chapter cuts back to the forest where his number 2 is having a very different and much more embarrassing kind of problem.
Ow. Yeah, Jango is trying to hypnotize Kaya to sign the will, but she is fighting it with everything she's got. She just keeps her eyes shut tight. You can see the tears streaming down, but her face is set with determination. She is not going down without a fight. She's fighting for Usopp, for her parents' memory, for her own life.
But the Usopp Pirates, Ninjin, Paimon, and Tamagi, are lying on the ground seemingly sound asleep. Jango, in his arrogance, thinks his work is done with them. He hypnotized them to sleep, and that's that. He completely dismisses them as a threat.
He thinks that's his big mistake. He gets frustrated with Kaya and tries to physically pry her eyes open with his fingers to force her to see his hypnotic ring, and that's when the kids spring their trap. It's glorious. They jump up. One of them, I think it was Paimon with the green bandana, throws a handful of pepper right in Jango's eyes.
And another one, Ninjin, lands a solid, perfectly aimed kick right to the groin. It's a classic, time-honored technique.
Yes, the Usopp Pirates strike back. They were faking it the whole time. They saw Jango hypnotize Luffy to fall off a cliff. They heard him talk about killing their captain, Usopp. They knew what was at stake, and they came up with a plan on the fly. That is courage right there. That's the spirit of their captain flowing through them.
It's tactically brilliant in its simplicity. They use their small size and the element of surprise. Jango is a dangerous pirate, a hypnotist, a fighter, but I doubt he ever expected 3 children to mount a counteroffensive. He is completely caught off guard, blinded, in pain, reeling, and it gives Kaya the opening she needs to break free and run.
And they don't just save her, they run with her. They become her bodyguards. It's their village, their friend, and their captain that they're fighting for. They are putting their tiny lives on the line just like their captain, Usopp, taught them. Not by his words, but by his actions. They saw him stand up to a crew of pirates, and it lit a fire in them.
It's tactically brilliant in its simplicity. They use their small size and the element of surprise. Jango is a dangerous pirate, a hypnotist, a fighter, but I doubt he ever expected 3 children to mount a counteroffensive. He is completely caught off guard, blinded, in pain, reeling, and it gives Kaya the opening she needs to break free and run.
And they don't just save her, they run with her. They become her bodyguards. It's their village, their friend, and their captain that they're fighting for. They are putting their tiny lives on the line just like their captain, Usopp, taught them. Not by his words, but by his actions. They saw him stand up to a crew of pirates, and it lit a fire in them.
It's more important than just tactical brilliance, though. It shows that Usopp's spirit, his bravery, even if it's the shaky, terrified, screaming the whole time kind of bravery, is real. It's infectious. He inspired these kids to be heroes in their own right. He founded a pirate crew, and even though it was a game, he taught them the most important part of being a captain, inspiring your crew to be better, to be braver than they think they can be.
He really did. When Jango finally recovers, shaking his head and wiping the pepper from his eyes, they're gone. He's furious, stumbling through the forest looking for them. And they don't just run and hide, that would be the smart thing to do. But no, they set up an ambush.
They climb into the trees and start attacking him again, throwing rocks, yelling. It's guerrilla warfare, Usopp style. It's exactly what their captain would do. They're using the terrain to their advantage, causing a distraction, buying Kaya time.
And this is where it gets real again, and Oda reminds us of the stakes. Jango is a legitimate, dangerous pirate. He's not a joke. He starts fighting back seriously, and we see a brutal panel where he grabs Tamanage, Onion, by the head and just smashes him into a tree. It's a reminder that these are still just kids, and they are in way, way over their heads.
But thankfully, their heroic, desperate commotion doesn't go unheard. The sound of their fighting, their yelling, carries through the forest. And who happens to be on their way, having just dealt with the Nyaben brothers?
Zoro and Usopp. They're on their way. Usopp is being carried, he's still pretty beat up, but they hear the kids' voices and realize something is terribly wrong. The cavalry is finally on its way to that fight.
It's a perfectly timed cut by Oda. He builds the tension with the kids to a breaking point, shows us they're in real danger, and then immediately gives us the release of knowing that help is coming. It's masterful storytelling that lets us switch back to the main event on the coast without being completely terrified for them.
And when we get back to the coast, Kuro is in the middle of his big, disgusting villain speech, laying out his whole philosophy for Luffy, for his crew, for everyone to hear.
He says that in a true pirate fleet, the crew members are nothing but pawns, chess pieces. They exist only to serve the captain's ambitions and should be sacrificed without a second thought if the plan requires it. He calls them disposable.
He's looking at his own men, the ones who are about to die for him, the ones still bleeding from Luffy's earlier attacks, and basically telling them their lives are worthless, that their loyalty is a weakness he intends to exploit and discard.
And Luffy is just listening to this, and you can see the shadow fall over his face. The anger is building.
This is the moment the physical fight becomes a purely ideological one. It's not just about saving Kaya in the village anymore. It's about the soul of what it means to be a pirate. It's Kuro's cold, nihilistic pragmatism versus Luffy's unwavering belief in friendship and loyalty.
Exactly. And Luffy, in his perfectly simple, direct way, just cuts right through all Kuro's grandstanding, all his intellectual nonsense. He tells him, even with all your men, even with all your plans, you can't beat Usopp.
Kuro just laughs at that. From his perspective, it's the most absurd statement imaginable. He's Kuro of 100 plans, a genius strategist, a legendary pirate with a whole crew at his command. Usopp is just a liar from a backwater village who got lucky. He can't comprehend what Luffy means.
But Luffy explains it. It's so simple and so profound. He says it's because of how Kuro thinks. It's because he sees his crew as disposable pawns, because he'd abandon them and betray them. And then he just decks him. No more talk, just a clean, powerful gum-gum pistol right to the face.
It's not just a punch, it's a refutation. It's the physical embodiment of his argument. Luffy follows it up by standing over Kuro's crumpled body and saying, "You don't know the first thing about being a true pirate."
This is it. This is the moment. This is Luffy planting his flag and drawing a line in the sand. For Luffy, a crew is everything. His straw hat is from a pirate captain, Shanks, whose whole identity is tied to his crew. His friends are the reason he fights. He would die for any of them, and he knows they'd do the same for him.
To hear Kuro talk about a crew like they're chess pieces to be sacrificed is the ultimate unforgivable insult. It's one of the first times we've seen Luffy articulate his core philosophy so clearly and directly. He isn't just fighting an enemy, he's defending his entire worldview. He's defending Usopp's honor, he's defending the very concept of Nakama. He's defining what it means to be a pirate to him, and it has nothing to do with treasure or murder. It has to do with loyalty.
And that punch, that statement, it does something to Kuro that no physical attack could. It's like Luffy found the one insult that could actually get under his perfectly controlled, psychopathic skin. All his pride, intellect, his genius plans, and this simple-minded kid in a straw hat just told him he's not a real pirate. He's a fraud.
Kuro just laughs at that. From his perspective, it's the most absurd statement imaginable. He's Kuro of 100 plans, a genius strategist, a legendary pirate with a whole crew at his command. Usopp is just a liar from a backwater village who got lucky. He can't comprehend what Luffy means.
Kuro is enraged, truly personally enraged for the first time. He says Luffy has insulted him, and he's going to show him what a real pirate is.
And then he does this strange, almost spastic stance. He sort of hunches over, swaying back and forth like a metronome. His hands with the cat claws are held limply at his sides.
It's weird and super unsettling. It's not a powerful-looking stance at all. It looks ridiculous, but we know it's serious because of how his own crew reacts. They absolutely panic.
Pure, unadulterated terror. They start screaming his name, their voices filled with dread, begging him, "Captain, no, not that move, anything but that." They know what's coming. They've seen this before.
And Luffy is just standing there, completely clueless, watching this guy do a weird dance. He has no idea what he just unleashed. He's just like, what's this guy doing now? The dissonance between Luffy's confusion and the crew's terror is fantastic.
We get a quick cut to Nami, who is watching from the deck of the Black Cat Pirate's ship, the Bizant Black. She's clutching the sacks of treasure she's stolen, looking down at the slope. She's wondering if the fight is over, if Luffy actually won.
And then it happens. Kuro just vanishes. 1 second he's there, doing his weird sway. The next he's gone. Poof. And suddenly pirates everywhere start getting slashed. Not just one or two. His entire crew is getting cut down.
We see these violent, bloody slash marks appearing on their bodies, and blood is flying everywhere. But Kuro is moving so fast, he's just a blur, a flicker of movement in the corner of your eye. He's indiscriminately attacking everyone on the battlefield. His own men are screaming in pain and terror as their own captain carves them up.
Luffy can't even track him. He's completely baffled, looking around, wondering how Kuro got past him, and the remaining crew members are screaming that he won't stop. He'll keep going until he's too tired to continue, and nothing they say or do will get through to him. He's entered a trance of pure murderous speed.
This is his ultimate technique, what I believe is called the shakushi. It's sometimes translated as the out-of-the-bag attack, or even pussyfoot, which is a bit of a silly name for something so terrifying. It is a perfect physical manifestation of his philosophy. It's a move so powerful, so fast, that he can't control who it hits. Friend or foe, it doesn't matter. Everyone is just a target, a pawn to be cleared from the board.
It is horrifying. It confirms everything Luffy said about him. He's not just a bad captain, he's a force of nature that he willingly unleashes on his own people. And Luffy's reaction to this is so telling. He's not scared, he's not impressed. He is furious.
He's watching these pirates, his enemies, the men he was just fighting to protect the village from, get slaughtered by their own captain, and he's angry for them. He's seeing the ultimate betrayal of a crew, and it disgusts him to his core.
And Nami sees this. From the ship, she sees the carnage, and she sees Luffy, this pirate who she's been so wary of, this goofy kid, getting legitimately enraged on behalf of the very people he was just fighting. His face is pure, righteous anger.
And the chapter ends on her look of pure, slack-jawed amazement. This goes against everything she believes about pirates, everything her life has taught her. She thinks they're all selfish, greedy, and treacherous. But here's Luffy, angry about a betrayal that has nothing to do with him, a betrayal of his enemies.
It's a huge moment for her character arc. It's maybe the most important moment for her so far. She's seeing a kind of pirate, a kind of person she didn't think could exist. It's chipping away at that massive, fortified wall she's built around herself. This is what starts to win her over for real. This is why she'll eventually join the Straw Hat crew. Not because he's strong, but because of who he is.
It's because he's not just strong. He has a moral core that is unshakable, and it extends even to his enemies. He cannot stand to see a captain treat his crew that way. It offends his very soul. And Nami, who has been a victim of the worst kind of pirate captain, is seeing the polar opposite for the first time.
Super important moment. Okay, I had to use it. That clash of ideals is the foundation of everything One Piece is about. It's not about who has the coolest power. It's about who has the stronger will, the better dream, the most loyal friends.
Before we move on to our predictions, Oda's author comment for the week is a nice little note that gives us a glimpse into the man himself. He mentions that Golden Week is coming up in Japan.
Oh yeah, the big holiday week where everyone gets time off. A bunch of national holidays all grouped together. Must be a rush to get the chapter done before the break.
Exactly. And he says 3 of his friends from his amateur manga days are going to be published in a special issue of the magazine called Akamaru Jump. He even names them, Fukushige-san, Shinyapo, and Yamakawa-san, and wishes them good luck, telling them to do their best.
That's awesome. Even as he's writing this intense, dark chapter about betrayal and murder, he's taking a moment in his author notes to shout out his buddies. It just shows you the kind of guy he is. All about his friends, just like the hero he writes. It's a little bit of Luffy shining through.
It's a nice little glimpse behind the curtain, a reminder of the person creating this whole world, and that his values of friendship and support aren't just something he writes about, it's something he lives.
I love it. Okay, that was a heavy chapter. The implications of Kuro's mindset and his final attack are just a lot. The idea of a captain who sees his crew as a liability is fundamentally disturbing. What do you think of a captain who kills his own crew? Let us know your take on Kuro's whole deal in the comments below. We'd love to hear it.
All right, let's get into predictions for Chapter 39. What do you have, Franky?
Okay, prediction 1. Luffy has to figure out how to stop a guy he can't see. He can't punch what he can't track. So my guess is he's not going to try and match Kuro's speed. He's going to use his rubber body in a defensive or trapping way. He's going to think outside the box. Maybe he'll inflate himself like a giant balloon, gum balloon, so Kuro just bounces off harmlessly no matter where he attacks from. Or my preferred idea, he'll wrap his arms and legs all around the battlefield like a giant rubber spider web to try and clothesline him.
A passive counter, an environmental trap made of himself. I like that. It plays to his specific strengths rather than trying to beat Kuro at his own game. It's a very Luffy solution. Not more elegant, just more rubbery.
Exactly. He doesn't get faster, he just makes speed irrelevant. It's a super strategy. For my second prediction, I'm going with Zoro and Usopp. They're about to crash Jango's party in the forest. I think we're going to see a proper team-up. Jango is a tricky, weird opponent with his hypnosis and his chakram. I predict Usopp will use his slingshot, maybe with a rotten egg or a smoke star, to distract or disorient Jango, creating an opening for Zoro to come in and land the final decisive blow. It'll be the first real Straw Hat combo attack, a swordsman and a sniper working together.
Showcasing their synergy as a fighting unit. That would be a great beat, establishing how they can function as a proper crew in combat. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is about how Kuro's attack actually works and how Luffy will counter it. It seems completely random and uncontrolled. I don't think he can aim the shakushi properly. He just becomes a whirlwind of claws. Because of that, I predict he will hit Luffy, multiple times even, but the slashes won't be effective. Luffy's rubber body is the perfect natural counter to cutting attacks, so the claws will just stretch his skin without breaking it. Kuro's ultimate murderous move will be accidentally, almost comically nullified by Luffy's basic biology.
Oh, I love that. The natural counter, the ultimate trump card being useless. Kuro, the genius planner who thinks of every contingency, getting defeated by a ridiculous power he could never have accounted for. That fits the themes of this fight perfectly. What's your second one?
My second prediction is that we're going to get a flashback. The crew's terror felt so specific, so visceral. It wasn't just fear of a strong attack, it was the terror of experience. They have seen the shakushi before. I think as Kuro is rampaging across the slope, we will get a brief, grisly panel or two showing us how he used this exact move to slaughter the Marines on the ship where he supposedly died 3 years ago, cementing his faked execution.
Bro, that would be dark. So dark. It would show us that he's done this before, that killing allies and enemies indiscriminately is just part of his standard operating procedure. It would really drive home what a monster he is, and that his plan was always to sacrifice people to get what he wanted.
It would explain his crew's absolute primal fear. They aren't just afraid of him, they're afraid of what he becomes when he uses that technique. They know that when he starts swaying, their lives are already over.
That's a heavy note to end on, but it feels right for this arc. Alright, that's all the time we have for today. Join us next time as we dive into Chapter 39 and see if Luffy can stop the unstoppable shakushi.
Until then, keep the spirit of adventure alive.
This has been Inherited Dawn.